Welcome back to the podcast on Friday, March 20th, 2026, episode 34. On today's episode, we have BMW's new i3 Touring confirmed for Australia with 900 kilometres of WLTP range. The Audi A2 e-tron's entry-level revival teased for late 2026. Renault's next-gen 2.0 platform introduces 800-volt architecture. Volkswagen's ID.Cross compact electric SUV revealed, Australia's largest strata EV charging installation at Sierra Hawthorn, and Polestar celebrates 5 years in Australia with the Sydney Gala launch of its flagship Polestar 5 Grand Tourer. All of these stories and a few more. The 2027 BMW i3 sedan, built on the Neue Klasse platform, has been officially confirmed for Australian delivery from early 2027 and is positioned to become the longest range EV available in the country, with a verified 900 kilometres of WLTP figure on the flagship i350 xDrive variant. That model delivers 345 kilowatts of power and 645 newton meters of torque from its dual motor all-wheel drive setup, achieving 0 to 100 k's an hour in under 5 seconds, while housing an approximately 108.7 kilowatt-hour NMC battery pack that offers 20% higher density than prior BMW packs. The architecture runs at 800 volts and supports DC fast charging rates up to 400 kilowatts, enough to add roughly 400 kilometers of range in approximately 10 minutes, or achieve a 10 to 80% in around 21 minutes. Alongside 22 kilowatt AC charging and full bidirectional vehicle-to-load, vehicle-to-home and vehicle-to-grid capability. The i3 measures 4,760 to 4,763 mm in length, 1,865 mm in width, and 1,482 mm in height, with a 2,897 mm wheelbase, making it noticeably larger than the current 3 Series for superior interior space and more compliant ride quality suited to Australian highways and regional roads. The cabin includes a panoramic 43.3-inch display spanning the dashboard, a dedicated 17.9-inch central touchscreen running the new operating system X with Alexa voice integration, in-car gaming, full over-the-air update support, and an extensive suite of advanced driver assistance systems. The i3 Touring wagon variant has also been officially confirmed through BMW teaser imagery, with production scheduled to follow the current i4 liftback phase. BMW has explicitly ruled out any direct i4 liftback replacement. Pricing is expected to open around the $100,000 mark before on roads once it lands here in Australia, positioning the i3 as a genuine premium long-distance contender for interstate travel, where current rivals such as the Tesla Model 3 long-range rear-wheel drive, which has a 750 km WLTP, the BMW iX3 has an 805 WLTP, and the Volvo EX60 has an 810 WLTP. They all fall short. In the same Neue Klasse launch wave, BMW is eliminating all chrome trim across the entire lineup in favour of illuminated light elements, including glowing kidney grills and signature graphics. Design chief Sebastian Kroes has stated this is a deliberate move away from quote-unquote hate chrome traditions toward modern, sustainable aesthetics that will define every Neue Klasse model and give Australian roads a cleaner, more futuristic appearance, while delivering the range many regional and outback drivers have demanded for years. Audi has officially revived the A2 nameplate as a compact, entry-level electric model set for unveiling in the Northern Hemisphere autumn of 2026, with Australian sales expected to follow in 2027 on the proven MEB platform produced in Ingolstadt. I'm sorry I butchered that, in Germany. European pricing estimates sit around €35,000, which, against local market positioning and current Q4 e-tron starting prices of roughly $85,000 in Australia, translates to a highly competitive projected landing price of $50,000 to $58,000 Australian before on roads, well below the current Q4 e-tron and directly targeting the growing sub-$60,000 premium EV segment currently occupied by Tesla Model 3 and and the BYD Seal, and some smaller Chinese offerings. Powertrain options are expected to include single motor variants delivering approximately 125 kilowatt and dual motor all-wheel drive configurations reaching 210 kilowatt plus, paired with battery packs ranging from 58 kilowatt hours to 79 kilowatt hours and delivering projected WLTP ranges comfortably exceeding 600 kilometers in the most efficient setups. The design pays direct homage to the original A2's compact efficiency ethos while incorporated contemporary Audi LED lighting signatures and premium interior quality standards. Audi CEO's statements explicitly note, quote-unquote, "We've listened to customer demand for more affordable premium EVs, addressing the gap left by higher price models in the current lineup. The A2 will be built to secure German jobs and is expected to compete head-on in Australia once full specifications and local pricing are released, offering a practical entry point for urban and suburban buyers while maintaining Audi's reputation for build quality and refinement on Australian roads." Renault's forthcoming RGEV Medium 2.0 platform for C and D segment vehicles will support 3 configurations: pure battery electric variants delivering up to 750 kilometers of WLTP range, all-wheel drive electric variants capable of towing up to 2 tons, and extended range EV, also known as EREVs, versions that stretch total range of 1400 kilometers thanks to a small petrol generator that charges the battery but never directly drives the wheels. The entire architecture operates on a 800-volt electrical system, enabling some of the highest DC fast charging rates available, while EREV models maintain CO2 emissions below 25 grams per kilometre, even when the range extender is active. The first production vehicles, likely refreshed Megane and Scenic derivatives, are scheduled for 2028 debut. Accompanying the platform reveal is the R-Space Lab concept, measuring 4.5 meters long and 1.5 meters tall, with an airy cabin featuring thin pillars, a panoramic roof extending to the B-pillar, a full-width display at the base of the windscreen, a sliding front passenger seat for easier rear interaction, equal-width rear seats with flip-up bases, something like the Honda Jazz, if you remember those magic seats from the Honda Jazz, that's there to give you some extra cargo, the rear doors opening 90 degrees for easier access. This flexible powertrain directly addresses Australian range anxiety on long regional routes and occasional towing needs without compromising zero tailpipe electric-only operation, providing a practical bridge while the national charging network expands. Volkswagen has released first technical details of the ID.Cross, a compact electric SUV measuring almost identical to the current petrol T-Cross at 4,153mm long, 1,794mm wide, 1,581mm high, and a 2,601mm wheelbase with a practical boot capacity of 475 litres with all the seats up, going up to 1,340 litres with all the seats down, plus you've got a 22 litre frunk and a 1.2 tonne towing capacity. Powertrain options include front-wheel drive motors rated at 85, 99 or 155 kilowatts, producing up to 290 metres of torque, paired with either a 37 kilowatt hour battery supporting 90 kilowatt DC charging or a 52 kilowatt hour unit supporting 105 kilowatt DC charging for estimated WLTP ranges of between 300 and 430 kilometers, depending on what blend of specification you get. European launch is expected for the third quarter of 2026, starting at around 28,000 euros, which is roughly about $45,000 equivalent landed. The interior brings back physical buttons alongside large touchscreen interfaces in direct response to customer feedback, while the vehicle rides on the upgraded MEB Plus platform. The ID.Cross offers a practical, affordable electric alternative to the popular BYD A2 and other compact SUVs already dominating Australian sales chart. With its size, 1.2 tonne towing, physical button ergonomics and projected pricing, making it highly relevant for suburban and regional families once Australian timing and final specifications are confirmed. In Melbourne's Sierra Hawthorn apartment complex, Knox Energy has completed Australia's and the Southern Hemisphere's largest strata EV charging project by installing 251 Level 1 plugs, They'd either replace existing power points or hang from ceiling bollards across the multi-level basement car park, plus one additional commercial fast charger, giving every one of the 241 apartments and commercial spaces its own dedicated point. The installation cost approximately $300,000 and forms part of the ARENA-funded initiative, granting Knox $1.5 million to roll out 2,000 charge points nationwide, of which 460 have already been completed. Sophisticated demand management software ensures the building never requires a new substation by allocating 10-minute charging batches to groups of vehicles if all residents plug in simultaneously, while the system is fully integrated with the building's fire alarms to automatically shut off every charger if it's triggered, actually improving the overall fire safety profile of the building. Individual billing occurs via QR code linked resident accounts, and data from insurers, NRMA and IAG confirms virtually zero additional fire risk when installed correctly by certified professionals. And just for an FYI, there has only been 13 EV fires recorded nationally between 2021 and 2026 versus 11,500 internal combustion fires. And those 13 EV fires, I think you'll find that most of them were not the fault of the EV in the first place. Transport Minister Chris Bowen attended the launch and stated the project's purpose is to, quote, show it can be done. The building has not caught on fire, insurance is still fine, everything is fine, end quote. Knox founder Wiley Chack noted the sales cycle for similar strata projects has shortened dramatically from 6 months in 2025 to just 6 weeks in 2026 as attitudes shift. The single development provides a repeatable, cost-effective model for thousands of Australian apartment residents previously locked out of EV ownership, delivering annual fuel savings of around $2,000 per resident, while proving urban charging infrastructure is both safe and scalable nationwide. Essential Energy, the major regional network operator in New South Wales, has commenced a plug-and-play trial installing low-cost 7-kilowatt chargers on 300 existing streetlight poles in rural, remote and parts of southern Queensland locations, with an additional 1,000 poles already pre-identified for private charge point operators to utilise. The composite pole solution is partly funded by ARENA to reduce barriers for private investment in areas lacking ready market demand, directly addressing the charging desert that has slowed EV adoption outside of the major cities. Project lead Andrew Hilsden has emphasised the initiative prevents regional Australia from lagging behind metropolitan areas with the low-impact design using existing infrastructure to deliver 7-kilowatt level 2 charging without new cabling or substations in most cases. When combined with the Sierra Hawthorn Strata success, these two domestic infrastructure stories demonstrate practical, low-impact progress on both high-density urban apartment charging and the vast rural networks. This is really critical for Australian conditions where long-distance, sparse population and limited grid upgrades are the norm, ultimately enabling more regional buyers to confidently adopt EVs without range anxiety or charger anxiety on outback routes. After a complete sellout in 2025, the Melbourne Motor Show returns from the 10th to the 12th of April 2026 at the Melbourne Convention and Exhibition Centre, covering 40,000 square metres, double the previous year's footprint, making it the largest international show in the Southern Hemisphere. More than 120 exhibitors and automotive brands have already confirmed participation, including heavy EV representation from Tesla, Polestar, BYD, Denza, MG, Geely, Renault, Kia, Honda and others, alongside aftermarket and performance partners. The event will feature global and Australian first vehicle premieres, a 100 vehicle test drive circuit, live DJs, the 25th anniversary Fast and Furious immersive exhibition with iconic franchise cars and exclusive merchandise, the largest ever Australian Hot Wheels activation zone with interactive racetrack and gaming. That sounds pretty cool. Bricks by Mattel displays, race simulators and family attractions. The general admission tickets start at $37.50 with family passes from $99. This expanded 2026 edition provides the perfect Australian platform for buyers to inspect that new EV that they've been eyeing, while showcasing the latest EV technology to an expected 100,000 visitors and helping close the gap for regional and first-time EV buyers across the country. Polestar has marked its 5-year milestone in Australia with a high-profile Sydney Gala launch of the flagship Polestar 5 high-performance 4-door Grand Tourer, built on the brand's first bespoke EV architecture with a bonded aluminium structure. The Polestar 5 is offered in 2 variants, the dual motor starting at a measly $171,000 before on-road costs, and the performance at $193,000 before on-road costs. There is a launch edition, which is also going to be about $186,000. Both feature dual motor all-wheel drive and a 112 kilowatt 800 volt NMC lithium-ion pack, delivering up to 550 kilowatts of power or 650 kilowatts of power. You got your torque ratings, 812 and 1,015 Newton meters, and 0 to 100 in 3.9 and 3.2 seconds, respectively. WLTP range reaches up to 678 kilometers on the standard model, or 558 kilometers on the performance variant, with combined consumption between 17.8 and 21.2 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. Charging includes 350 kilowatt DC, should give you 10 to 80% in 22 minutes, and an 11 kilowatt AC charging. You'd think for that sort of money you could at least give them 22 kilowatts AC. Anyway, deliveries are scheduled for spring of 2026. The model directly rivals the Porsche Taycan with superior range and lower entry pricing, while undercutting the Taycan's cheapest single motor variant. The milestone launch underscores Polestar's steady growth in the Australian premium EV segment and adds another high-performance option for local buyers seeking Grand Tourer capability on long interstate routes. Australian scientists at CSIRO, RMIT University and the University of Melbourne have created the world's first proof-of-concept quantum battery that successfully completes an entire charge, store, discharge cycle. Leveraging quantum effects, including superposition and entanglement, the prototype demonstrates the counterintuitive property that charging speed increases as the battery scales up, which is obviously opposite to how batteries work these days, and can store energy for millions of times longer than the actual charging duration. The system supports wireless laser charging at room temperature. Lead researcher Dr. James Quach has described the long-term vision as achieving charging times faster than filling a petrol tank and enabling true wireless power transfer for future EVs. While still at laboratory prototype stage, this genuine Australian innovation could dramatically reduce EV charge times and enable long-distance wireless charging systems, a breakthrough with enormous potential for our national fleet, given Australia's vast distances and reliance on efficient long-haul transport, potentially transforming regional and outback charging infrastructure once commercialised. Brisbane-based Boscap, a specialist in right-hand drive EV conversion for fleets, including recent work on the Ford F-150 Lightning for BHP and other mining clients, has entered receivership, affecting around 100 jobs. Reports directly link the collapse to Ford's strategic decision to scale back Lightning production globally, despite Boscap's recent Tesla mining sector conversion deal and its role in localizing high-demand EVs for Australian conditions. This serves as a factual challenge facing Australian emerging EV ecosystems. Specialist converters remain vulnerable when overseas OEM strategies shift, potentially slowing the availability of right-hand drive options for fleets and regional operators who rely on such conversions to meet local road rules and towing demands. Chinese marquees including BYD, GWM, Chery and MG have captured 24% of the Australian new car market in early 2026. This is up 14% on last year. Accounting firm BDO has warned that the rapid dealer network expansion may prove unsustainable without stronger after-sales infrastructure and service networks tailored to Australian conditions. In parallel, BYD vehicles could generate between $562 and $972 per unit, through Australia's new National Vehicle Efficiency Scheme emissions credits trading mechanism. Bit of a mouthful. Providing a direct financial incentive that could help offset pricing pressure and support further investment in local charging and dealership infrastructure. These figures highlight both the explosive EV-driven growth from Chinese brands and the longer-term structural questions around service, support, and market stability for Australian buyers, especially in regional areas where after-sales reliability is crucial. In 2025, the worldwide EV fleet avoided consumption of 1.7 million barrels of oil per day, roughly 70% of Iran's entire daily export volume. For Australia, this statistic directly underscores EVs as a powerful hedge against international fuel price volatility and import dependence, with the country's own oil import bill potentially reduced proportionally as the national EV fleet grows. Local drivers on long interstate routes from Sydney to Perth or Darwin to Adelaide already benefit from lowering operating costs and greater energy security. The figure represents a 20% year-on-year increase in avoided oil compared with 2024, reinforcing the economic and strategic case for continued domestic adoption on our vast road network where fuel price spikes have historically hit regional and fleet operators the hardest. Don't forget, Australia is the second most road freight dependent country in the world, second only to the USA. Porsche has begun internal production of battery cells and packs specifically for the upcoming Cayenne electric SUV at its dedicated facilities in Germany. Now, while exact cell chemistry and capacity details remain confidential at this stage, the vertical integration move is expected to deliver improved efficiency, performance consistency, faster charging capabilities, and supply chain resilience compared with previous reliance on external suppliers. Australian Porsche buyers of both current and future electrified models will ultimately benefit through better local availability, reduced waiting times for high-demand vehicles, and potential pricing stability as the brand accelerates its EV commitment here, directly addressing previous supply constraints that affected premium EV deliveries in Australia. This step strengthens the long-term viability of Porsche's electrified lineup for Australian consumers who value the brand's performance heritage on local roads and tracks. Both Australian and United governments are actively modelling road user charge systems to offset falling fuel excise income as EV adoption grows, with Australian options currently under review including distance-based fees or GPS-linked charging, and multiple trials and policy papers already in circulation at both the federal and state levels. This is a necessary and transparent discussion to maintain fair road funding while continuing to encourage EV uptake across the country, ensuring that interstate highways, regional roads, and urban infrastructure remain adequately financed without disadvantaging EV owners who already contribute through registration and other fees. The proposal includes safeguards for privacy and equity, with potential rebates for low-income or rural drivers to keep the transition positive for Australian buyers. Transport for New South Wales has commissioned new electric bus charging and maintenance infrastructure at the Brookvale depot on Sydney's northern beaches, including multiple high-capacity charging bays, upgraded grid connections, specialised servicing equipment, and fire safety systems designed for high utilisation electric buses operating on suburban and coastal routes. The facility forms part of the broader statewide rollout, converting the entire public transport fleet to zero-emission vehicles, with Brookvale serving as a flagship demonstration site that proves large-scale electrification is practical in a dense urban adjacent environment. This project directly supports Australian public transport decarbonisation goals and provides a model for other depots, ultimately reducing operating costs and emissions for commuters in Sydney and beyond while creating local jobs in charging infrastructure, installation and maintenance. Several established and emerging EV models have been repriced downward by as much as $30,000 for the 2026 model year in response to intensified market competition and greater supply availability, with specific reductions confirmed across Chinese brands and legacy manufacturers, including models previously priced above $70,000, now landing closer to $40,000 to $50,000 before on-road costs. These reductions span both Chinese and legacy brand vehicles and deliver immediate, tangible affordability improvements for private, fleet and government buyers across Australia, accelerating uptake in regional areas where price sensitivity has previously slowed adoption, and directly countering any range anxiety concerns by making longer range options more accessible on a budget. I will just caveat this story with a lot of the supporting figures that I had seen around the traps was that they were comparing full recommended retail price to some demos that were being sold on car sales. So take that this with sort of a grain of salt, but there is definitely some deals to be had out there on some of these EVs. Chinese manufacturer Leapmotor has had its 2026 A05 compact electric hatchback leaked ahead of the official reveal, with earlier spy images and specification leaks indicating a sub-$30,000 positioning that undercuts many current entry-level EVs and targets urban commuters with practical dimensions, efficient battery options, and modern safety features. Positioned as an ultra-low-cost entry-level model, the A05 forms part of the latest wave of affordable EVs from emerging Chinese players that continue to drive down pricing benchmarks and expand choice for Australian consumers, particularly first-time buyers and fleet operators in metro areas. This model is expected to arrive in Australia shortly after its global debut and will intensify competition in the sub-$35,000 market, delivering genuine value and encouraging faster transition away from internal combustion vehicles on local roads. Alright, now for the buzzword of the year. Chery has detailed its new Rhino battery S-Series all solid-state technology, achieving up to 600 watt-hours per kilometre energy density through advanced sulfide or polymer electrolytes. This pack comprises 1,500 kilometres of WLTP equivalent range, even in minus 30 degrees Celsius, with testing commencing in 2027 on models including the Exceed ES8, before rollout to other Chery Group vehicles which are already sold here in Australia. This represents a major leap in cold weather performance and long distance capability, directly beneficial for us Australian owners in southern states or undertaking extended highway journeys where winter temperatures and vast conditions have traditionally challenged battery efficiency. The technology also includes enhanced safety systems and a faster charging potential, positioning Chery models as future leaders in the Australian market for buyers needing reliable range in variable climates. And that's our episode today, episode 34, Friday the 20th of March 2026. That was a bit of a longer episode there. We had a lot of facts, a lot of figures, and a lot of things that are happening overseas, but we can see a direct correlation to how that's going to improve things or have an impact on things in Australia. Appreciate you listening. As always, if you have any feedback, info@pluggedinaustralia.com.au. And until the next time, stay plugged in and stay charged. Ci vediamo.